It's 64 boy.
Scratch.
Dressing the culture, I'm adjusting the culture, huh? Adjusting the culture, I'm adjusting the culture, huh? Dressing the culture, I'm adjusting the culture, huh? Dressing the culture, I'm adjusting the culture. We gon' talk about it. Come adjust the culture, we gon' talk about it. Come adjust the culture, we gon' talk about it. Come adjust the culture, we gon' talk about it. Come and adjust the culture, huh?
Brick by brick, you get your boy Big Wall, and you already know what type of time I'm on. I'm here with my partner in crime, the big dog himself, P.stock. What's going on with you, bro?
Hey, man, like I said, man, address the culture, man. Every time we have a show, it's like a family reunion, for real.
Yeah, it's
You
a
know,
trip
so-
with players me. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, that's where it is. That's exactly what it is. And we like to bring these unique cultural experiences.
Yeah.
That's what we consider these experiences
Yeah.
to you. You know,
Yeah.
so you can see people, the real people, and know that these people are real and they existed. And tonight's show is a very, very
No
unique
different.
show.
Yeah.
It's no different. It's
Yeah.
very unique, especially in the sense where we have a lot of we have right now 2 Medal of Honor recipients that's coming up right here on the
Yeah.
show tonight, and that are long overdue. Anytime you hear about these awards being given out, it's usually long overdue. They should have been given out years ago.
Yeah.
You know, given to them and give them their recognition while they're here for their families and everybody to recognize.
Give
So-
them their flowers.
Giving them their flowers.
Yeah.
And that's what we're doing. And to get the historical point of view from these men's view. Our one guest fought in 3 campaigns, and he's just getting
3.
more. 3. World War II, Korea, and Vietnam.
Yeah.
You know, and suffered bayonet wounds. So, you know, and to not be honored or given these type of honors from them, man, it's kind of ridiculous, you know. And I'm a veteran myself, you know, and you know, so I know, you know, for those of us that have served, you know, and the ones like these guys that have done, you know, and went above and beyond duty, they should be awarded. They should have been awarded, you know.
Yeah.
So,
And those are the type of things we like to tackle right here on Address the Culture because, you know, let's be clear, you know, it's a lot of historical people out here. When they have a certain skin color, they don't get the recognition that they deserve, even
Yes.
if they do minor or even more than what you're supposed to do. They still do it, and they should be acknowledged. You know what I mean?
They
But
should
we
be.
have legends who have not been acknowledged and not given the flowers as they deserve, and we're gonna address it. You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
And, you know,
yes.
we ain't ducking no smoke.
no
around
smoke
these
at all.
folks.
None
You know
at
what I'm
all.
saying?
None at all.
Yeah.
You know. So without further ado, you want to hit a break first?
Yeah. So let's take a break. Let's take a break. You
Yeah,
know what I'm
hit a
saying?
break.
Pay some of our bills, and then we get back. We're gonna bring Brother Darren on. You know what I mean? And he gonna drop a little knowledge, talk about who we got on. And you already know the
In the
vibe. Me and
background.
P.stock. We're
Yes.
gonna be back to address the culture. You already know what it is.
Yes.
Dressing the culture, I'm adjusting the culture.
Lizette Martinez.
I have a very special guest. The first episode. She was a singer in an R&B group that went like platinum 2 times.
Is that an exclusive?
Let's drop your first bomb.
Lizette Martinez. You know what
They
I'm
dropped
talking
the
about?
bombs, and then I got another bomb for the next show.
You know what I'm talking about?
And I gotta tell you something. The book is gonna become a movie. I'm so
Yeah.
locked. I'm 10 toes in.
Out the gate.
Out the gate, coming swinging. You already know the vibes. We are back. We are back here to address the culture. You know what I'm saying? And y'all know we call him our honorary host. You know,
Yes.
he's back again.
The third host. The third host. He's the ghost. He's the ghost.
What's going on with you, Darren, man?
Hey,
How
Darren.
you doing? How you feeling? What's going on in your world, man? Talk to us a little bit.
Well, first of all, thank you, P.stock, Tone Big Walk Capone, Audi 19, for offering this fabulous platform for what it began as the legacy, honoring the grandmasters of Filipino martial arts. In the last 10 years, I've had a unique opportunity to film already 8 legacies honoring the grandmasters. But what came with this was not just the Filipino martial art aspect. What came with this is being able to recognize people such as Sijo, Reynard Lazada, and GM Harry Green. These are unique individuals where when I filmed Legacy 6 San Francisco at the War Veterans Memorial Building in San Francisco, I coordinated this with Ray Topacio Cordova. And what I did is all proceeds went to the Congressional Medal of Honor for the 1st and 2nd Regiments, the Filipino soldiers. And, you know, being from family from the Philippines, you know, stories I've heard of my family dying in the Philippines fighting against the Japanese. It hit, you know, sentimental to me that what better cause, you know, of filming Legacy 6 and Legacy 7, and I gave all proceeds to go toward these Congressional Medal of Honors. Well, we all know how COVID has slowed a lot of things down this past 2 years, but Ray Cordova, who's also a master of Kambutan, and his son, Joe Boo, matter of fact, has supported these past legacies. And he even supported Legacy 8 San Carlos that we filmed 4 months ago. Anyway, his father, Ray, contacted me a couple of weeks ago, and he goes, Darren, I've been watching this fantastic platform of you promoting legacy and humanitarian, even your great-grandmother's cemetery that's being encroached by developers. And he goes, oh, wonderful show, you know? And I started talking to him. He said, you know what, Ray, it'd be great to bring back the Congressional Gold Medal as part of the legacy. And we started talking, and it opened up. And he goes, you know, Darren, I'd really like you to, you know, suggest somebody to receive the Congressional Gold Medal. And the first 2 people that popped in my mind were GM Sijo Reynard Lazada and GM Harry Green. Okay, and they've served their time in the military. And Sijo Reynard, you know, World War I and Korean War and Vietnam. GM Harry Green, 52 years teaching jungle tactics, okay, utilizing Filipino martial arts. These 2 gentlemen, man, they paid their dues, you know, being part of our armed forces and what they've been through, their experiences. Nobody could really speak for them on that behalf. What we could do is show our compassion, you know, and our fortitude toward these great men and trying to give something to them. So Ray let me select 2 gentlemen, 2 former military guys for this Medal of Honor. And these are the 2 that I chose. Matter of fact, within minutes of being told this. So we have them both here on this show. They're great men, great men. And I'm just trying to do something good for them. And coming together with Ray Cordova, he's another veteran military man. And to provide this opportunity to show our gratitude toward them in the highest way we can. Here we are today talking to P.stock and Tone Big Walk. And these 2 gentlemen are on the show. And it's going to be fabulous to listen to their life story and what they want to share with us. Because, hey, I've never been in the military, but my daughter, military, my son, My son-in-law is still in the military, and I got a whole bunch of family that have been fighting Korean War, Vietnam War, even the Middle East. My daughter was part of that, Persian Gulf, you know. But yeah, I want to thank you guys, you know, for providing this opportunity. I really do. But this is just one way of utilizing even Filipino martial arts to do something good, you know, for those that served their time in the military, because they had to use it for real, you know. There is the martial artists, and then there are guys that in the military, like Joe Reynard, you know, he ran out of bullets fighting in Korea, and he had told many of us that he had to play dead. He had to cover his body in blood and guts. And when they came up on him, then he'd ambush them and kill them with a stick. So in utilizing FMA or even Sorata Eskrima, you know, Joe Reynard, he's the late Grandmaster Angel Cabales' nephew. And he's basically one of late Grandmaster's first students. I believe he's 96 years old now. And he's also the first certified master under late Grandmaster Angel Cabales, and he accepted number 3. And the late Grandmaster Angel saved 1 and 2 for his 2 sons. So we're here today to address the culture on gratitude for these great men, Joe Reynard Lozada and GM Harry Green. Hey, thank you for your service. Thank you for what you've done, your sacrifice. And it's really going to be great listening to these 2 great men, martial artists and former veterans. Okay, World War War II, Korean War, Vietnam. Fabulous. Thank you, guys. Thank you very much.
No problem. I want to ask you before we bring them on, because we're gonna take a break. And then we're going to bring them on. And I think Ray is in with us.
Yeah, Ray.
Well.
Looks like Ray Cordova came in. Yeah.
Ray's popped in as well. Yes.
Now, Ray could give a really good breakdown. Okay, really good breakdown. I'd love to hear what he has to say about what me and him have done to work together. And for this to even happen, you know, thanks to Ray Cordova.
Yeah. Look like we got Ray joining the show as well. But before we take this break and bring them in, I want to ask you, why is it so important for you to give light and shine light to others that you know deserve it? Because let's be honest, in the culture, a lot of people don't want to give that recognition to others because they feel it'll take light away from themselves. But you've never been like that. Even with your own events, you allow other artists to come through and display their talent on your platform as well. So that's just something that's just in you. So why is that so important for you, Darren?
Well, Big Tom, what you got to realize is I'm second generation. My mom and dad were first American born, okay, from Philippines to Hawaii. And then when my great grandfather and his kids, my grandpa, and them all came here to San Joaquin Valley, to the land of opportunity from Hawaii, you know, that era right there, you know, it was all before, the Philippines even got invaded. You know, they came 1906, 1911 era. My teacher, late Grandmaster Angel Cabales, he was the first Filipino to commercialize and open a school in Filipino martial arts in 1966. So coming from, the Sakata, Hawaii, from Philippines, Hawaii, San Joaquin Valley, that rich history means a lot to me. Okay. And then when you look at the time frame of late Grandmaster Angel Cabales teaching, there's really not much film of the late Grandmaster Angel Cabales. And a lot of the history that was passed to me was all verbal, you know, and you talk about the old school, you know. I don't have recordings of my great grandfather, not too much of even my grandpa talking oral history, or my aunties that educated me, my cousins, my uncles, my dad about the history of our family. you see. So in being giving as a martial artist, I understand the sentiment that's behind opportunity to share your history, to share your FMA, to have an opportunity to speak and demonstrate what your grandmaster had given you. So looking at what my GM has or the history of my family, it don't get more sentimental than that. And that's why also it's very important that landmarks, graveyards, cemeteries are so important to protect. Okay. And we've had the opportunity for you guys to host me on my great grandmother's cemetery, Puwiyaki North Shore, on a few occasions. And if we don't communicate about it, ain't nobody going to know about it, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, we're communicating about these gentlemen, the ultimate sacrifice to go and fight wars. Okay. And they are martial artists. So to have a martial art and to even share in wars, maybe that gave us a bigger and better opportunity and chance to win a war.
Yeah.
So the FMA, combat, martial arts, it's all part of one. And I've taught a lot of guys in military myself, law enforcement, and I've talked to them and they've had to use it, including my own child, okay, to survive in situations. So you got to give credit to not only the military, but the law enforcement for what they do on a day-to-day, you know, trying to protect the community. And there's going to come time when people try to kill them, or if in a war, it's all about survival. So I believe military and law enforcement, bro, it don't get no deeper than having to use an ancient martial art on the job to survive. So in utilizing this platform of legacy, it's what it's all about, brother. Sharing and caring.
Yeah.
Because I know the competition out there care less whether or not I have a word to say anything about my GM, because it's so vicious out there that media controls, and I understand that. But when you look at the early days of martial arts, if you didn't make Black Belt Magazine or Inside Kung Fu, those that had that media in the magazines, they're the guys that got pretty much all the attention in the martial arts set. So when I got this opportunity with EM3 Masters, yes, I wanted to promote my GM Angel Cabales. Yes, I did want to promote his art, and I did. But at the same time, I says, you know what? It's not just about my art. Let me share this with the other stock in FMA.
Yeah.
And by creating that opportunity, it was a beautiful thing, man. Sharing.
Yeah.
So I've spent over 10, 15 years sharing. And in sharing, things came back in a different way.
Full circle, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And to be honest with you, I like that feeling.
Yeah.
You know? I don't expect nothing back from anybody I help. I create an opportunity for them, okay, to showcase themselves, honor their grandmasters, share their arts, you know. And I just get a gratifying feeling for this. But being a part of this show has opened up different areas of just FMA, the humanitarian side to it. Okay, and now we're talking about the Congressional Gold Medal to be given to soldiers, you know, that had fought these wars 70 years ago.
Long time overdue.
Yeah, long time overdue.
Yeah.
So to be a part of this, you know, to even get to be on this show and honor these men, that's a living life, brothers. That's a living life. To its fullest. And that's how I feel as a human being. Okay. Not just it's screamador. but as a human being. You know,
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
and you guys provide a platform for me to share. You know, not only what has been done for legacy and everything else, but to get to meet the people that I'm working with and people like-minded that want to share too. So, hey, thank you guys.
No
New
problem.
19,
That's
P.stock,
what we're here for.
Big Tone, Big Wall. Yo, bro, this is beautiful.
Thank you.
Come
Yeah.
on
No
now.
problem. No
You don't get
problem.
no better than
We here.
this.
That's what we here for, man. We here to address the culture. Now,
Yeah.
what we gonna do? We're gonna
That's
take a
good,
quick
man.
pause for the calls, pay some bills, and we're gonna be right back with our
Okay, brother.
congressional gold medalists.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
December of 2016, that's the last time we saw. We did an intervention tape. And the intervention would show more detail about what was going on, how Jocelyn looked. She didn't look like herself. She looked like she had lost around she weighed about 90 pounds. And Jocelyn was roughly average about 120, somewhere like that.
Wow.
She looked totally different. And it really tore my heart up to see my daughter look that way.
You think you've heard the truth? You think you know it all? But you haven't heard anything until you hear Tim Savage's side of the story. On the next Let's Talk with Bigg and Lizette, we sit down with Timothy Savage, Jocelyn's father, to get his side of the story. Be sure to tune in. Is there anything you want to say to your daughter?
Yeah. One thing I want to say to my daughter.
You already know the vibes. We are back. We are back to do what we do. We got our honorary co-host Darren here representing all of the great legacies. And we got one of our congressional gold medalists in the building, the legendary Brother Harry in the building. Can you hear me, Harry? How you doing, Brother Harry?
Can you hear me? I can hear you.
Yes, we
hear.
can.
We can hear.
Yeah,
You.
we can hear you.
Can you hear us?
Yeah.
Good.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay. Well, won't you
doing
give us a little history? Give us a little history
doing
about
fantastic.
yourself.
I'm still vertical.
It's still vertical. You still got a chance, right?
Yes, indeed.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's an honor to have you on the show,
Yes.
Grandmaster Green, and we definitely would like for you to let our viewers know a little bit of your background.
Well, you're right. First of all, I want to thank you all for having me. It's an honor to be here.
Honor to have you.
Honor to have you.
Yeah.
Nothing special. Military back in 1962. From basic training, I went to Fort Benning, Georgia for jump school, and during our 4 weeks in jump school, about 2 weeks in, they had a meeting, and she wanted to know who wanted to go to Ranger School, who wanted to go to Special Forces training, and okay, well, what's that and what's this? And that volunteered for the draft. Raise your hand. So I raised my hand. I'm just there for 2 years, okay? So so they said, okay, all of you that raise your hand that want to go to Special Forces, okay, you're going to have to re-enlist for was back then, okay, 1 year. Yeah, okay, so raised my hand, went through the physical, went through the written tests, and took the test on and follow in the book. Okay, so yeah. See, so the first time I took it, I flunked the test by about like to take it again. And I said, yes, when? They said, well, you can't take it. And they said, if you take it tomorrow and you fail, you won't be able to do this for a whole year. And I said, okay. So I took it and I passed it. Okay. Yes, you went to Fort Bragg, went through the training, stuff like that. So just before I was getting ready to graduate, and so they asked me, they said, Sergeant Green, would you like to go to jungle school? Okay, well, how much is that? They said, well, you don't get paid any more for it, because when I was in basic training way back then, the pay was only $67 a month.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay, so yes, he said going to jump school. Yeah, going to jump school, that's another $55. So okay, so now you're going to just about double my pay to learn how to jump out of it. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Okay, raise my hand. I volunteer. Okay, great. Okay, did that. Okay, through when I had gotten to jump school, my mom said, "Hey, wherever you go, call us. Let us know where you are." Okay, fine. Yes, so I called home. My mom picked up the phone. Oh, hi, honey. How you doing? Fine. Yada yada yada. Where are you? And I said, I'm in Fort Benning, Georgia. She said, what are you doing in Fort Benning, Georgia? And I said, I'm learning how to jump out of planes. She put the phone. You could hear her put the phone down. She would call my dad. Honey, come talk to your son. Okay. Right. Okay. Yeah. So my dad comes to the phone. Right. Yeah. So my dad phone. Hey, how you gonna find, Dad? How about you? Hey, he said, fine. He said, how come your mother is so upset? And I told her I was learning how to jump out of planes, parachute. And he said, okay, be careful. And he hung. And that was the end of our conversation. Okay. So going to special forces and going through that year. Right, yeah. So call home, now I'm what are you doing, Fort Bragg? I joined the special forces and stuff. And just before I left, that was going to go to special forces, you were subject to be investigated by the FBI. Okay. And so when I got there, actually my family told me, she said, my mom and dad said, are you okay? And I said, yeah, why? Said, well, there were 2 FBI people here at the house asking about your background. And I said, really? Yeah. And not only did they talk to us, they talked to everybody that you down on that list. And I said, really? He said, yeah. And I said, yeah, I'm fine and stuff. Okay, yada, yada. Okay, great. Okay, fine. Okay. See, so after special force training, went to Panama to jungle school. Okay, well, okay. So I got there about a week before school started, walking around. I find out where the cafeteria was, the PX was. So I run across this Filipino master sergeant out in the field, just twirling 2 sticks around. Okay. So I'm wondering, well, what the heck is he doing? Okay. So I'm standing there watching him. So maybe 5-10 minutes goes by and I walk out to him, introduce myself and ask him what he was doing. And he asked me, he said, have you ever heard of the Filipino arts? That's no, Master Sergeant, have not. So he gave me, so I asked him, I said, watching you, would you have time to teach me to shoot a little? And he asked me, he said, do you really want to learn? Master Thomas did that about 5-6 times. Yes, Master Sergeant. Okay. How long are you going to be here? And I said, I'm going to be here approximately 6 months because I'm going to go through the jungle school course. Then I'm stay and go through the water survival course. And he said, oh, you like to be drowned on purpose, right? And I said, no, not really. But he said, well, that's what's going to happen to you. Oh, okay, great. And he said, no, you're going to try to go through jungle school. And I said, well, I didn't volunteer to fail. And he said, okay, we'll see. And he said, during your jungle school training here, I will be one of your instructors. And he said, I don't care if we get through jungle school at 1 a.m. And he said, and he stopped and said, how long are you going to be here? I said, 6 months. And he said, okay, and he asked me again last time, you really want to learn? Yes, Master Sergeant. So he said, okay, you be right here 2 hours every day, 7 days a week for 6 months. He said, you miss 1 day in 6 months, we're done. I don't want to hear how tired you are, how sore you are and stuff. And he said, I don't care if we get through with Jones School at 1 a.m. on any particular day. He said, you're mine from 1 a.m. to 3 a.m. And he said, I don't care if you're supposed to get up an hour later at 4 for Jones School. That's your problem. Now, do you still want to do this? So I'm thinking to myself, you dummy. Yes, I said, yes, Master Sergeant. He said, okay. See, so for those 6 months, he trained me in basic Serrata, okay? Plus he trained me in combative knife in a 2.5 second scenario. And just before I was getting ready to leave jungle school to be assigned to a 10th Special Forces group in southern Bavaria, he said, he told me, he said, Sergeant Green, he said, if you continue what I've been teaching you, and he said, it's entirely up to you. You can stop, you don't have to do it anymore. But he said, if you do, you will create your own system. And he said, that's what I want you to do. Take what I've taught you, okay, make it better, and create your own system. So over 53 years, that's what I've done. I've created my own system. It's a one-on-one Filipino martial arts. I'm right here in Sacramento, California, and I teach privately. And the reason I teach privately, I was teaching up in Roseville, where my wife and I lived for pretty close to 30 years. And I found myself, and you may have done this too, okay, if you taught in a group, that you will find, okay, my group I had, was about 30 people, okay? So out of that 30 people, there were 5 or 6 people that picked it up really quick. Okay, so now, without you constantly knowing it, you will kind of gravitate to these 5 or 6. Not that you're leaving the other 15 or so behind. Yeah. Okay. And I didn't realize I was doing that. Not that I was ignoring the rest of them, I wasn't. But one of them told me after class, he said, some of us been talking that you are kind of ignoring the rest of the class and paying more attention to the 5 or 6. And I said, really? And they said, yeah. I said, hey, something? I didn't even realize that, but thank you, Shu, for telling me. Yeah, see, so since then, since we moved from Roseville to SAC, and so now I teach privately. That way, a student has 100% of my attention, and I demand 100% of theirs.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
See, so for the last 20 years that I've been here in SAC, I've taught privately. Okay. Now I have a school that's in Blanchard, Oklahoma. Okay. I have an affiliate school that's up in Yuba City, and that's one of my senior master instructors. His name is Ray Kadani. Then I have another senior master instructor down in San Diego, and his name is Nicholas Moreno. And he goes and he teaches the Marines at Camp Pendleton. Okay. And if you didn't know that the Marine Corps has a martial arts corps within itself. Okay. So we teach the martial arts corps, and whatever Marines want to become martial arts instructors within the Marine Corps, then then that program that they have, that's a program that my combative knife system is embedded in, that the Marines have to go through. It's not my course.
Oh, wow.
It's their course. You know, my part of my combative knife curriculum is embedded in that. Okay. But yeah, so to me, it's no big deal. Okay. It's just little old me. Okay.
It's definitely a big deal. We're not gonna let you get away with that.
No, it's no big deal. Yeah, it's a big deal.
You know something? It is no big deal. Okay. So then, getting back to the military part. I spent 2 years in 10th Group in Southern Bavaria. Then I volunteered to go to Vietnam. So I left 10th Group, went back to Fort Bragg, hooked up with the team, and landed in Bien Hoa, Vietnam in November 1966. Okay, so then I spent a year with 5th Group, but when the 101st went over there as a whole division, okay, 7 of us from 5th Group went back down to Bien Hoa and got some of their 502nd Long Range Recon from the 101st and took them up north to Phu Bai, which eventually became Camp Eagle. Okay, so so spending a year with 5th Group and actually the 101st. My second year there, I was sent up north, up to the A Shaw Valley to hook up with the 503rd ROC, the South Korean Special Forces, which was supported by the 173rd Airborne Brigade. So my last year there was spent with the 503rd ROC, South Korean Special Forces. And I got to tell you, those guys don't take prisoners.
No, those guys are tough guys. I know about them.
Yeah.
Marine.
Yeah.
I
So
can just imagine the stories and what you've seen. You know what I mean? Just going through those experiences.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So so she died. Yeah, so I've taught my wife for 30 years, combative knife for 30 years. And if you ever get a chance to meet Mary, you can say, Mary, oh, what do you know about combative knife? She'll tell you nothing. Well, didn't Harry teach you combative knife? And she said, yeah, but I still don't know a thing. She just don't want to publicize it. Okay.
Yeah.
But when she's in the kitchen sharpening the knife and stuff, Harry goes outside and Harry comes right into the dojo. Okay.
Absolutely.
I leave her. Yeah, I leave her. I'd shoot alone. But after Nam, I left there in November of '68. Went back to Fort Bragg, spent a few years back there, 3rd Group. Then I went back to 10th Group, served a few more years there, then went back to 3rd Group and finished out my military career. But just before I left Special Forces, I was talking to this captain who was teaching, a martial arts class. Okay. Well, as you know, in basic training, you don't get much training in any one specific thing, maybe a week, shooting, that's about it. So talking to him, he told me, he said, I like the way you move and stuff, you have fluid moves and stuff. And he said, if you continue to your martial arts through the military, okay, keep a book of what you do, when you do it, where you do it, and what time. So I did. So just before I was getting out, I ran across him again. Well, he went from a captain to a full bird colonel. Okay, so I saw him again at Fort Bragg, and oh, hi, how you doing, sir? Oh, Sergeant Green, how you doing? Fine. How's things going? I said, fine. Yeah, I'm getting ready. I want you to get out in March. And he said, oh, that's just a few weeks from now. I said, yeah. And he said, do you still? I have that book. And I said, yes, I do. And he said, did you keep track? And I said, yes, I did. And he said, would you mind showing it to me? And I said, no. And I said, how about I'll shoot this afternoon? Yeah, he said, good. Yes, I'll meet you in the gym here. Yeah, okay, great. Yeah. So I did, showed him the book, and he said, you wrote all this down? And I said, that's what you told me to do. Okay, so I did. He said, all these times, all these places and stuff, you even trained in Vietnam in spare time? And I said, yes, yes, I did. So I was even teaching some of my team, teaching them combative knife, teaching them Serrata. Okay, so okay, great. So about 3 days before I was getting ready to get out, he had me come to the gymnasium again. Okay, great. So yeah, I walk in there, got all these people there, special forces guys and stuff, said, and what they did, they honored they gave me a master's in martial arts. And I said, really? And I said, I never would have expected this. He said, no. He said, that's why I asked you, if you continue, keep a record. Okay, we have that record. Okay, and this record will be here at will stay here at the John F. Kennedy Special Warfare Center. And I said, oh, okay, great. Well, thank you. See, so that's where my master's came from. Okay, so through the years, I've never trained at a dojo. Okay, I've always trained by myself, kept it up all these years, still training people through the years privately. Of course, in Roseville, she had a gym. Yes, the gym wasn't mine. Okay, but yeah, training out of that gym, yeah, I just kept on doing it, and that's where I met this one guy, claimed to be a former Navy SEAL. Okay. Oh, great. Okay. Because I had gotten cancer in 2004. So after I should retiring from the drug business, and I was on the good side of the law. Okay. Okay. So, yeah. So then, yeah. See, so during my rehabilitation at this gym, because in 2 weeks in the hospital, I went from 225 pounds down to 165 in 2 weeks. Okay. Oh, yeah. So at this gym, I had to build my body back up to where I could do things. Okay. I couldn't even walk by myself once I got home from the hospital because I had lost so much weight. But yeah, but in this gym, working on stuff. So after session, one day I was sitting down talking to the owner, and he happened to be a 4th degree in I think it was karate. Okay, so he and I talking stuff. So this guy comes in, he said, excuse me, he said, whose car is out there in the parking lot that has a Special Forces sticker in the back window? And I said, it's mine. Why? He said, oh, shoot, my name is so-and-so, and I'm a former SEAL. And, oh, really? Okay. Hey, nice to meet you and stuff. Yeah. Okay, great. Okay. So he said, hey, I may have a martial art that you may be interested in. And I said, really? He said, yeah. He said, come on back here in the back. And yes, so we went back there, and he picked up 2 sticks. So I started smiling. Okay, okay, right. So yeah, so he started showing me angle 1, angle 2, angle 3, angle 4, angle 5. Okay, and that's all he knew was 1 through 5. So I'm standing there. Well, how come he doesn't know 6 through 12? Okay. Right. Yeah. So they okay. Yeah. See, so he starts showing me outside. Okay. Fine. Okay. So I'm standing there, and he's showing me this, and I'm following him, and he said, "Have you ever done this issue before?" And I said, "No, not really." He said, "You're picking this up really quick." And I said, "Yeah, I'm a quick study." And he said, "There's a person," I would like you to meet. He lives in Stockton. Okay. And I'll call him up, and can you be here next Tuesday? And I said, "Yeah, fine. Okay, great. Yeah. So and so time. Yeah. Okay." So the person I met at that time was Master Carlito Bonjoc. Okay. And that was back in 2004. Okay. So then, yes. Yeah, so then going through the drills and stuff with this other guy and stuff, and a master, and grandmaster now, Grandmaster Carlito said, well, he said, that is pretty good. And he said, who taught you? And I told him, and I said his first name was Enrique, and I can't remember his last name because his last name has probably about all of the letters in the alphabet. Okay, so yeah, so he said, oh, okay, great. Yeah, see, so shoot, that's how he and I met. Then that following week, he brought Master Ron Saturno down there, and that's how I met Ron Saturno. Okay, so then through the years, Master Carlito and I have gotten together, so brushing up on my Sirata and stuff, and yeah. So I knew that since I was promoted to master, that I would never become a grandmaster because I was never in a dojo. Okay, yeah, all mine is self-taught and stuff. Okay, so back in 2016, I met Senior Grandmaster Pete Morales. Okay, Kaji Kimbo. Okay, Golden Dragon, Ohana people. Okay, so so he and I kind of hit it off really, really good. It was him and Grandmaster Casey McPartland. Okay, and he asked me, he said, well, when are the guys down in Stockton going to promote you to Grandmaster? And he said, shoot, you're old enough, you got enough time in. Okay, how come they don't promote you to Master? I said, I don't know. I'm not expecting to be promoted to Grandmaster. I'm not a self-promoter. It's my system. Can I do that? Yeah, I can. Okay, I can promote myself to the Senior Grandmaster if I wanted to, but there is no 12th degree Senior Grandmaster that I know of. There's a 10th, okay, but yeah. So yes, see, so shoot, he said, well, we'll promote you to Grandmaster. So I was promoted to Grandmaster back in 2016. Okay, so I think that's maybe as far as I will go, I guess, unless someone else says, well, yeah, I think, yeah, he should be promoted to Senior Grandmaster. Well, if that happens, it happens. If it don't, it don't. Okay, but yeah, so yeah. See, so that's I would say that's half of my story, because during my 21 years in Special Forces, actually my senior master instructor, Nicholas Moreno down in San Diego, he worked for a cyber company that sent him to, and I can't remember what post it was in Kansas. Okay, but there's an Army base there. Okay, so
Mhm.
yeah, see, so his time that they're working there, he came across some Special Forces guys that used to be Marines at Camp Pendleton. Okay, so they start talking, and we got out of the Marine Corps and went Special Forces. And one of the reasons that we got out of the Marine Corps, went Special Forces, was because of Grandmaster Green. He said, "Really?" I said, "Yeah." So two of the Special Forces people that were there were women in Special Forces. Okay, and so they were asking Nick, "Well, who is your Grandmaster?" And she, yeah, and he told them and stuff. It's Grandmaster Harry Green. Oh wow, really? Yeah, okay. So I guess these gals called back to Fort Bragg, talked to whoever they know who to talk to. Okay, so a few days later, they saw Nick again, and they said, "Hey, do you really know who Grandmaster Green is?" He said, "Yeah, he's my Grandmaster in a combative knife and Filipino other martial arts." He said, and yes, and they said, "Do you really know who he is?" And he said, "Evidently, you're going to tell me. Is it bad or good?" He said, "We found out that man is a legend in Special Forces." He said, "A legend?" He said, "Yes." He said, half to 3/4 of his record is blacked out because of the black ops and missions that he has been on around the world. And so when he called me and told me that, I said, "You got to be kidding me." He said, "No, that's what they told me. That's what they found out." I said, "Really?" He said, "Yeah, okay." So that's where that is now. Okay, so no big deal.
Great.
I always say is that it is no big deal. Yeah, so spending 2 years in the jungles of Vietnam, yeah, it was an honor, a deep honor to serve my country. And would I do it again? I'm not going to. Yeah, I'm not going to the Ukraine. Okay, no. Not at my
Great story.
Not at my age.
It's so much heritage. It's so much heritage and so many different things going on with you. But what we're gonna do, we're gonna take us a quick little break, and we're gonna come back with some more gold medalists.
Dressing the culture. I'm addressing the culture, huh?
What's up, everyone? It's Lizette Martinez here, and guess what? I have a new show called Let's Talk. I'm the Address the Culture Network and also iHipHopTV.com. I'm an author. My name is Lizette Martinez. I wrote Jingo No. 9, How to Survive Our County. My book is available on Amazon and also Barnes & Noble. Check it out.
What's going on with you? We are back. We are back to do what we do. We are here to address the culture, and we're going to call this the Handing Out Flowers Show.
Yeah, handing out the flowers.
Because that's what we're doing, and we are here. So, Brother Darren, tell us who we got on the Address the Culture platform, and tell us why it was so important for you to give the
I believe this is Rod, Ray Cordova.
Ray can't get on for some reason. Can you hear me?
Yes.
He was in for a minute. He was
there, but he's having some hard time connecting. And I guess he wanted to discuss what we're doing here with AL Post 510, Leona's chapter, and how we're connected with the Filipino Council exhibit of the 80th anniversary of the Fall of Bataan and Bataan Death March. And Ray said, tell him what you guys are doing. Well, we're trying to pay tribute to all the war veterans, like my dad, and who was a Filipino scout who escaped from the Death March and fought in guerrilla warfare during the Japanese occupation, the 3-year occupation in the Philippines. And then when the liberation forces came with MacArthur in 45, he rejoined with the active army, and they fought the Japanese and got the liberation. And what we're doing is there's an exhibit at the Philippine consulate, and we're trying to honor 4 categories of veterans: the Filipino veterans, the soldiers that serve with the Filipino Scouts, the U.S. Army, the Filipino Army, the Philippine Constabulary, and then you have the Filipino American, the 1st and 2nd Filipino Regiment, and the Recon Battalion. Then you have the American. There's another category of American veterans, and then you had the veterans that served in the Filipino Scouts that were West Pointers and just officers. And then you have the women, civilians, and then we had women that were part of the comfort women in the Philippines, and then some of the women that served as spies. There's a whole, a group of women that aren't acknowledged and have kept very silent about their participation in the war effort in the Philippines, working in the Camp Cabanatuan, and just helping in the general guerrilla warfare during the occupation in Japan. So that's what we're doing. And Ray wanted me to sort of explain to you guys that the effort that we have as AL Post 510 and the American Legions is to honor and pay tribute to the veterans of foreign, American, and civilian, because there was a lot of foreign, like Polish and Jewish that fought in the Philippines. It volunteered on their own, not affiliated in any kind of military organization, but came on with their own weapons to fight in the thing. Just like people in America and even Ireland, they're volunteering to go to the Ukraine. And like Green said, there's some special forces guys that retired, that came out of retirement, bring their own AK-47 they got at SF. They're going down there. On YouTube. All you got to do is go on YouTube. You see a lot of veterans like Green and say, "Hey, man, I'm still good. I still know my MOS, and I can carry on. I've got local weapons. My AK-47 that got a special forces that I took off some dead people when I was in Bosnia, Herzegovina. I mean, they've got those kind of people." And so what we're doing, I'm like Green. I'm retired military, but I'm not like Ray. Ray's like one of you guys. He's one of the gurus that fought with the sticks. Now my father, he joined the Filipino Scouts. If you want a little bit of here of my dad's thing, he was one of those guys in Negros Occidental, and that's one of the hot spots where the Arnes and the stick fighting came. My dad said, "Junior, we have the long stick and the short stick. So you fight with those sticks, and you can kill anybody." So he was, he did all this stuff, and the reason why he went into the military at age 19, he had a fight in the Philippines. When you fight, you don't fight for just playing around. You kill. So he said he killed somebody. So the way they placated the family, so they don't have any blood feud, is my family gave the guy that got killed some land, and my uncle said, "Roding, you have to leave here because even though we give you land, they're going to kill you." So my dad he said, "You come with me and I'll take you to the Filipino Scouts." So he took him from Negros Occidental, took him to where my mother's from, Pampanga, where the 26th Cavalry was. And that's how he became a scout, because in the days, if you guys don't know the history of the Philippine Scouts, they were the forerunners, the Macabebe Scouts, was my mother's father was, who captured Aguinaldo during the Spanish-American War in 1898. He was one of those guys. And the genesis of the Filipino Scouts was the Macabebe Scouts. And if you know the history of the Philippines, I was always wondering, why do they call it dugot ng aso, the blood of the dog? And I asked my dad, what does that mean? He said, "Junior, the Kabapangans were very loyal to Spain. And when the Spanish-American War, they stayed on the side of Spain. They didn't care about the other Filipinos because they fought against them. That's why they call them dugot ng aso, the blood of the dog." They consider the Macabebes traitors to the Filipino, Spanish Revolution in 1898. So when America finally got when America, sort of they were supposed to give the Philippines to the revolutionaries, to the revolutionaries, say, okay, join us, America, and you can help us get our independence from Spain. They said fine, but when Spain of course doesn't want to give their sovereignty to the locals. They don't want to give it to the Indios and say, hey, we got beat by our own Indios that they had colonized for 300 years. They said that's a we'd lose face. We'd rather have America buy us for $12 million and we'll give it to them. And if you know the history of the fake war, the bombardment of ships in Manila Bay, that was all fake. Not one
So address the
died.
coaches then.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at the history of Hawaii, right? I don't want to go sidebar. I don't tell me if I'm talking too much. But anyway, if you look at Hawaii's history, right, the Dole family, right, and all those people that came to Hawaii, they were smart. They said if we marry into the hierarchy, right, the king and his family, we'll be able to get land, and we can, no matter what happens to if they go independent or if they become a commonwealth with America, we'll be tied in. And that's why you guys right now, I heard your podcast saying that there's still a fraction of Hawaiians, pure-blooded Hawaiians, that say, hey man, you guys always abuse us. I mean, it's the Anglos that are making all the money from their Kauai jam and all this stuff, and you subjugate us to our little barrios, our little areas, district within the various islands of Hawaii, and the Koreans make more money than we do, and it's our land, And so the Filipinos were the same way. They said, hey, listen, we have to do something. We don't want Spain to take over what we're doing. And they've subjugated us 300 years ago. And then when they found that the America traded, went against them, so they really fought. And if you guys don't understand, the Filipino-American War didn't last for 3 years. 1918 to 1898 to 1901. It lasted all the way to 1914 when they destroyed the Moro Revolution in 1914. That was the end of it. There was a massacre at Bigg in Mindanao, where they massacred the entire village, over 5,000 people in this one barangay, and it was terrible what they did. And so we, as American Legion, we want to honor the memories of that, the beginning, even though there's some historical difficulties in the Philippines. And all you guys know that the Philippines, because of their Spanish tradition, if you guys know the Spanish tradition, how they colonize people, they try to set up a class system where you had the Castilians first, right? The ruling, they're all blue blood, Spaniards. Then they will have the mestizos, right? The intermarriages with prominent, like the barangay or the chieftain clan would marry into the Spanish hierarchy. They would be the mestizo. Then you'd have the about 4 or 5 different classes of Filipinos until you got down to just the Indios, the ones from different, island groups. And of course, in the Philippines, you have the regionalism. You have the people from Luzon, the people from Visayas, and then the Mindanao, the 3 groups, right? The 3 major island groups. So everybody in the Philippines does the crab dance, and they do that a little bit in every society. Every society has their people that promote themselves and people that try to promote others. And the problem we have in the Philippines, regionalism is still strong. That's why you have graft and corruption. And when you think of Duterte, I mean, can you imagine Duterte telling America to fuck themselves because you can't tell me what to do? You have problems killing people and killing African Americans, and you're telling me I can't kill my Filipinos that's shooting at me when
Talk your shit.
You chasing it, man.
The reason we want to exhibit, these people is to pay honor to them. Like Green says, he's been there for 26 years. Unless you pay honor to the people who shed the blood, all you're doing is forgetting history. When you think about the Hawaiian Islands, when the queen, Kamehameha, and she was tricked. I mean, she was tricked from her land and her sovereignty because the whites wanted to control the islands. Just like
there's been a lot of trickery going on.
A lot of trickery from
a whole lot of it.
From the same group of people.
Yeah, and you're like the ruling class. They told to the Philippines, my little brown brothers, you do not know how to manage your resources. Your what you call it? The resources of minerals you have in the islands. The little brown brother doesn't know how to take care of that. Just like right now, when you think about Ukraine, why did he invade? He invaded for 3 reasons. The 2 largest nuclear plants in Europe. He's got that. Then he got what? He's got the Balkan seaports.
Yep.
No trade can go to Ukraine unless it goes to the seaports.
Yeah.
Right. And the last thing is he wants to get Kyiv. If he gets the capital city, he doesn't have to have boots on the ground. He can control it. Internet with a few people, because no one wants to fight in urban warfare. You can't win.
No.
Right. So if you think about the reason why he's doing that, and he knows that he doesn't have Trump to deal with, he's got a person that it's tied in with Ukraine corruption, his son. All right. So when you think about that, and of course NATO does not want to fight because NATO doesn't have the wherewithal to promote a campaign in Europe. They don't have the physical wherewithal and the what you call it, the will to fight. They don't want to turn into World War III.
Yeah, they don't want those.
That's what it's doing. But that's what it's doing. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I love what you're saying. The knowledge that and again, that's what we're here to do, to address the culture and bring this to the light.
It's really sad.
There's a lot of knowledge that needs to be known.
Yeah, it's really sad. The Hawaiian, if you ask an average Hawaiian, just like the Filipinos, you ask the average Hawaiian, why did Hawaii become from what you call it,
Commonwealth,
a kingship?
A monarch.
Why did it go from a state monarch to a commonwealth with America? Why? It's because the family married into the Dole family, right? That's how and then they wonder, why did Hawaii allow foreigners to buy land? Because they were corrupt, just like in the Philippines. But the Philippines is smart. They say if you want to be part of the Philippines, you have to marry somebody that's Filipino, right?
They at least try to keep it in the bloodline.
To keep it in the blood.
Yeah, that's right.
Keep the traditions going.
Yeah, and
you gotta respect that. Because they don't let your tradition just fall to the side.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's right.
You gotta at least respect that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It's really sad in the Philippines. The Marcos family is so corrupt, right?
Yeah.
I heard Bongbong, the one that's Marcos's son. He went to Harvard, right? And he went to Harvard, and he was interviewed by these, blue bloods. He says, you know something? You guys can trace your family roots to 13 colonies, and you have all this money. But guess what? My money is more than your money. You have old monies, old $1 million. My dad has billions of dollars because he was smart. When he found that the golden Buddha in World War II that the Japanese brought from Japan to the Philippines, this farmer found it, and the farmer asked Marcos what he should do. He said, well, we'll secret, we'll keep it. And what happened to the farmer? You never heard about him anymore.
I bet you did.
And so what Marcos do with the golden Buddha, worth millions of dollars, now it's worth billions. He got with the Vatican, and the Vatican said, President Marcos, we will take your, at that time he wasn't a president, he was just a Filipino businessman. He was self-taught as a lawyer. Anyways, he said, take the golden Buddha into your care and protect it, because I can't do it. I'm just a common person. And so what does the Vatican do? They invest the worth of the thing, collateral, right? The golden Buddha. If you look it up, they've had it for a while. And then when Marcos wanted back, when he was the president, he says, I want it back plus the interest you owe me. So that's where he got the money. And guess what? How long was the the Philippines used as a staging base in Vietnam. Green, you know that. You were there.
Oh yeah, Philippines
Yeah.
was used
The,
for
the
years.
Philippines was there from what, 1959
Mhm.
to the fall of 74, right?
Yes, Subic Bay
Yeah,
and
the
Clark
reason,
Air Force Base.
yeah, Clark Air Force Base, Alongo Post, Subic Bay,
Right.
Yeah.
yeah, all those places. I did a paper when I was commanding general staff, going through my CNGS as a lieutenant colonel. I took a slice of the history of the Philippines and the Johnson's military aid that's called bribe money. And it started like $24 million in the 59, and it then went up to $130 million by the time Marcos left. And where was all that money going? It was going to Marcos' account in Switzerland, not to the Filipino government like it was supposed to. So that's why Bongbong can say, not only do we have the golden Buddha, we have all the millions of dollars that you've sent to the Philippines.
All the money too.
Yeah, U.S. taxpayer money. And who died? Not a dime went to the Filipino government.
No.
Corruption.
Yeah.
And then you have somebody like Duterte says, hey, listen, I'm only going to be here for 6 years. So if you can kill me before then, fine. But I'm not going to be here. I'm not going to continue. And you want me to take care of the corruption and the drugs in the Philippines. I have 6 years to do it. And that's why I'm doing it. And me killing these drug lords and stuff is my way of purging them.
Yeah.
If they don't want to do the work to prove their innocence, then when we knock on your door, don't shoot at us. Come to the jail and we'll talk it out. But if you start shooting, I'm going to kill you. And then he told some of the kingpins. There was a family from the China that has been in the Philippines for like 200 years.
Yeah.
That, if you look at the history of the drug lords in the Philippines, Chinese people.
They're Chinese, yeah.
Yeah, they were Chinese like me. I'm part Chinese. My great-grandfather came from Macau. And they said, Junior, you ask your mother's family, that's why you look like you're Chinese, because you're from Macau. And my grandfather told my mother, said, I'm so sorry for my grandsons. They're spoiled. All they do is play mahjong and cockfight and chase women, and they got rid of my empire. He had a shoe factory in the Philippines, and he married a Filipino to get the shoe factory, right? So he lost all his things. So he went back home to Macau, and he left the factory to my family, and it destroyed it. But anyways, I'm getting far off the field, but the problem we have and what we're trying to do is perpetuate the honor and sacrifice and service of those patriots, both military and civilian, that fought World War II in the Philippines. And I'll be glad to send you guys, but you guys are in Hawaii, so you could probably see it in some type of venue. But it's an honor, like we all do. And I think the Japanese in Hawaii, you guys know the Japanese Cultural Center over there in Hawaii that honors the Nisei, right? 442 and 100 Infantry Battalion, right?
Mm-hmm.
In Hawaii, they have that. Yeah, 40. It's 442, 442, and the 100th Infantry Regiment of the Nisei. Go for broke. The Philippines should try to get something like that. They should have a center where they honor the sacrifice service of Filipino Americans and Filipinos and women that served in World War II in the Philippines. And the thing we would like to do eventually is hopefully one day we can have a World War II museum to honor, the Pacific Theater, because that's something that's sorely missing here in the West Coast. And I hate to say it.
We like to put things in the atmosphere. You know what I mean? So we're gonna speak that into existence, because on this platform we kind of being known for starting and spreading things to affect their culture. So we're gonna put that in the atmosphere. We got somebody else here, Brother Ray. You know what I mean? That we haven't got the opportunity to talk to. How are you doing it? And tell us a little bit about what you're doing.
He's muted.
Hello.
Go ahead, Ray.
Hello, Ray.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
First of all, I apologize for my connection. I'm supposed to be at the Hawaii Island Retreat, and the connection here, in fact, I'm down, I think maybe one signal back. That's why I keep going off and on. Hopefully, you guys can hear me. There's no router except maybe for this area where I'm at right now. because this is a retreat where we're not supposed to have anything else other than, hey,
No
relax,
electronics.
R&R, and do all that other
Yeah.
good stuff. But hopefully I can still stay on maybe for a few minutes before the signal dies down. Otherwise, I may have to call on my spec ops guy there, GM Harry Green, to fix up my combo. Otherwise, I won't be able to call them and call the big boys down or call the guys to fix it up.
All you got to do, all you got to do is, call me, brother.
All right.
I'll be there.
Well, listen, I'm calling on you because, listen, there's a couple of other people that hopefully can get on. I know that you guys sent the live stream link to them. I know Darren has and Rod has as well, because they've got stories to tell also in terms of their participation in our American Legion Post 510. And I think Colonel Rod there may have already told you some of it, but I just want to make sure that the story is clear that we're American Legion Post 510 Leonis chapter, and is really named after First Lieutenant Magdalena Leonis. If he hasn't told you yet, she's the only Silver Star female that received it during World War II in the Philippines as a guerrilla, as a nurse, as a POW. All right, and she's gone through many, I won't say many events and experiences where it may have cost her her life. That's why we want to continue to perpetuate her legacy, because after I did my scholarly research, which is still not complete. You know, over the years of conflicts in the United States, in terms of medals, okay, the Medal of Honor is the biggest, probably the most prestigious. Only one has been issued to a female since the Civil War. And that was also a nurse. And they rescinded that medal because she was not in combat. Well, guess what? There are more stories and confirmations that what she went through was combat. And that's what we're hoping to do with First Lieutenant Magdalena Leonis, because she did go through some, a lot of combat there, being a POW as well. As I'm hoping that she can get on the air and explain a little bit more, because what we're trying to do as this podcast hopefully is reaching a whole lot of people, with the right people talking about what we're talking about. As a veteran myself, and I had to back up Harry Green because I was really a replacement warrior for him when he left. And I was there at 71, 72, you know, all the way from, let's say, Cam Bay to the DMZ. And I was the guy who was working with the Military Assistance Command in Vietnam, working with spec ops guys like Harry Green, but he'd already left. Okay, and I was still there trying to call the shots for Rolling Thunder and all the other stuff.
Yeah.
So anyway, I know that. I think it's Pete. You've been a veteran of Vietnam, right? So you probably know what I'm talking about. If,
not Vietnam. I wasn't in Vietnam. I'm not that old, but.
Okay. Well, you're a young man yet. Okay.
Yeah, I was a Gulf War guy.
Hey, you know what? It doesn't matter what war or what wars you've been through. Your fathers, your grandfathers, like my father was also a Philippine scout. He was also POW at Corregidor, the last battle that was fought. And the Filipinos never gave up. I think, Rod, you know this. No. They never gave up. It was General Wainwright. They gave it up. Corregidor was the last bastion right after Bataan Death March. Okay.
Yes.
So he ended up marching with Wainwright to the peasant camps. Okay. So, I mean, I go that far back and even further beyond, because I know I come from a military background, military family. My great-grandfather was with the Katipuneros. I don't know, Darren, if you can relate to that. But these were the guys that fought, guess what, the Spanish, okay? And then he fought the Americans, okay? And then basically he was one of the mayors or governors of the Cavite area in Imus, Cavite, where my mom was born. So we go all the way back. So, but really to make it short, what we're trying to do is perpetuate the legacy of veterans, really in all conflicts. As Rod had mentioned, Filipino Americans in World War II, we're talking about 260,000 that actually fought there.
Yeah.
Okay. And those are just basically the military. Okay. But you're not counting the civilians also that were there. Yeah. And that's why Ali can come into the picture and talk about her mom. Okay. At first, because she was not military. But because of her background, and she was also a missionary, she was able to do some of the things that really helped General MacArthur say, I shall return. Because she was a Como person, and that gave let's just say, that communicated with MacArthur's forces back in Leyte, okay, before he
Right.
came. Well, no, excuse me. When he left Leyte, okay, he went to Australia and then came back. When it was ready to be taken back. And the people that took it back was, guess whom? Okay, Rod's dad, my dad, those people who were there already fighting. Some that were already imprisoned. Of course, many more were actually killed. So we're talking 260,000 of those people. And in my trips back and forth now, I've had several trips to Camp Aguinaldo and met with 3 retired generals. One who's in charge of PVAL, which is the Philippine Veterans Administration Office. They've got rosters of all the Filipinos, the Filipino guerrillas, the scouts. And guess what? I mean, all that money that Rod was talking about was not really going to upgrade the record keeping of those folks. And I think I met up 3 people in that office, and they had no AC, no air con. They had 2 fans, and they were trying to digitize manually some papers that were practically, falling out and rotting from way back World War II. So, I mean, that's a task in itself, okay? But the stories that we're talking about here, even with GM Harry there, all these stories, I've only spent, like I said, several years, in the service. I retired as an educator, and I've talked to a lot of students, whether they're high school students or even college students. I keep saying, when we talk, and one of my compadres is also the professor at SF State, we talk about history. Okay, and this history really needs to be documented, has to be written down, and it has to be talked about. It had to be podcasted, it has to be shown more on TV. And besides that, if we are actually blacklisted, guess what? The books are still there. But the point is, we still talk about it, and that's why we got to stay connected. And I keep reminding my students, listen, if you hear the stories we talk about, whether it's in school, whether it's high school or college, and then you hear about it and you ask your grandpa, if they're still around, or your mom and pops, hey, what happened back there in the Bataan Death March? And you know what? They may not know. So that's why it's really important for us to document it, put it in books, put it in the media, because as I tell them, address them, at the end of the day, if you don't know your history, it will remain a mystery.
It will remain a mystery.
So that's why.
That is a good question.
Yes.
Yeah, that's amazing.
I did have an uncle that was in the Bataan Death March, though. My uncle Sparky
Okay. Now, did he escape like Dad? Like Rod?
He escaped. He escaped.
Okay.
Yeah, he escaped.
But he may have been on a roster someplace, and that may be lost in those files there at Camp Aguinaldo, where General Aguilar is in charge of, and also General Lorenzana, as well as General Carolina. Those are the higher ups, the higher command of Brigadier General retired Aguilar at Camp Aguinaldo. There are papers there, and if it's not there, it may be at another office, but it really needs a group of people, hopefully scholarly, that can trace this so we can find it, okay? Yes. And then have it vetted so that we can honor it and give it to the next of kin, because the living survivors right now, I think they're numbering at about 9,000 who are still living. All the others now that we've given the medals to, we've given about, Rod, I'd say about 100 medals just from our posts. And I want to commend Major General retired Taguba for really working with the Filipino Veterans Recognition Education Project to be able to pass this on, so that Obama signed it off. And I was one of those with about 400 other people who went to DC and got the medal for my dad, okay, in Washington, DC. And so that's why I am really tied in, very well connected to this. And I've had a chance to meet and greet Senator Mazie Hirono, who I'm hoping I can get to, but they're all busy. I'm going to tell you that right now. GM Darren, they're all busy because of this mess that's going on in Europe. You know that.
In Europe, yeah.
So that's where the priorities are, okay? So hopefully we're still going to be around to continue and perpetuate the legacy of not just World War II, but the legacy of all the veterans who put on the uniform.
Yes.
Okay? And we want to make sure they do what's due them, to all of us. Okay.
And you know what? It's amazing that you said that because it kind of brings me to my next question. And any one of you guys or all three of you guys can answer this. Why do you feel your contributions has been overlooked for so long? And what do you think it's going to take for more people who have contributed to the culture to get that just dessert?
Yeah, good question.
Well, my first guess would be, I don't know if it's education or not, but coming from an education sector, it's all the politics. It's all the power play because of the politics. And the people who control politics are the people who are making the bucks. And now it's all about the big bucks. Who's making the big money? Who can pay all this and that? I know Colonel Rod there, my compadre, said that even in the Philippines, Marcos, well, guess what? It's not just Marcos. It's dynasties of those families who control
that money.
The pesos, the dollars, okay? They pay off people who can vote for them. And guess what? If it's not this Marcos, it's going to be another Marcos. In fact, that Marcos family, guess what? The wife is still the governor of Northern Luzon. Okay. And the daughter is also a congresswoman. Okay. And then Bong Bong's running for president. Okay. So we're hoping we have some people from the roots. Okay. Like Manny Pacquiao, who was dirt poor.
Yeah.
Okay. He's a philanthropist. He's giving money out to the common people. Okay.
Yeah.
So we need people like that. And hopefully Lani Robredo, who is pro-education like I am, I met her and talked to her about 3.5 years ago. And she is opposing Duterte because the two camps don't even meet. Okay. They don't really talk the same language. Although politically they're saying, well, we want to do this for the people, but are they really? Are they really? Because I know that Duterte has done his fair share of trying to wipe out the drugs. But now somebody else is saying, well, he's wiped it up, but somebody else has got it richer than him.
Yeah.
So here we go.
Yeah.
So it's really all about the money. And it's talk about, the political will of the people or the powers that be. So where's common man? In fact, if you all don't know that there really is no middle class in the Philippines. Okay. It's either you're rich or you're way down there. Or you've immigrated to the good old USA and try to get not just one job, but 2 or 3 jobs to make ends meet for large families.
Yeah. United States is the same way. There's no more middle class. Pretty much. The middle class is being rubbed out. Is being rubbed out. And that's a part of the legacy of the United States and the history with the whitewashing that goes on with the history of particular groups of people that they consider minority people within the United States. That goes for the Filipino veterans, the African American veterans, the Hispanic veterans. They're always late.
People of color.
Yeah, basically people of color.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
To receive their their flowers, what is due to them, receive their rewards, and it goes back on. I had a relative fought in every war this country ever had. So and that right there, and I did tracing go back, way back, back in the day, early times of the United States when they came here, and mixed because the indigenous people, the thing they sell, and you said you was an educator, the thing that they sell to people in schools and education, like you said, is corruption, is that the African Americans in the United States came here through slavery, and that's not true. We were already here. The majority were already here. They had already lived here and was known as the indigenous people. And you can't only prove for that part of the history of slavery is 1619. That's it. Those 20 people. That's the only manifest they can show for the United States. All that rest of it went to Brazil and everywhere else. But again, that just leads to the point that even back then, from the Civil War on, there's been parts of the history of brown and black Americans that's been wiped out of the history books. They don't want people to really learn of those contributions of these groups of people and their sacrifices. So that's why we address the culture on all these things, to make sure to know that there's a digital record and that people will know for generations going forward. we're not always going to be here, but this video will. This video will keep rolling on and keep rolling on. It's like
We'll always be here. Yeah.
It's the historical record that's going on and on and on, and that we got to pass on because they exclude this from the history books.
Yeah.
You know, the histories that they teach, especially the public schools, is just that fact to keep black and brown children guessing. When you go, how would you feel if you go to school and the first thing you're taught is your contributions to this country is slavery? That's it. And you know it's far more than slavery. The history is far more richer than slavery. That's only the last 500 years, you know.
Yeah.
Before, you know, that's only the last 500 years.
Yeah.
So, and that's not a long time in the history of things. When you look
Absolutely not in the grand scheme of things. You know what I mean?
In the grand scheme of things.
It's really not. To kind of piggyback what P was talking about, Rod, I want to come to you. What are some things that you think that we can do to kind of change some of the things that P was talking about?
Yes.
Well, I think, like Ray said, education is part of the thing. I don't know where you guys stand politically, but I think if you look at the way that, like you were saying, if you look at the ethnic history of America, all the peoples of color have always been suppressed. And every time somebody tries to come up, when you look at what the Chinese Exclusion Acts of the 1800s, if you think about the Indian genocide during the taming of the West, when you think, like you said, there were more Africans that were in Haiti and Brazil than there ever was in America.
Yeah.
If you look at the trace of the Panamanians, they have two Panamanians, Negro and Blanco, right?
Yeah.
You know that. The I had a Panamanian friend. He says, I'm Panamanian Negro, but I'm proud of it. And in Central America, South America, and a little
Mexico.
bit in Mexico. The blacks, there's no, Latinos, black is not a problem. There's no racism within the Hispanic community in the South and Central America. The problem you have, and I hate to say this, when you come to America, then you have the blacks just, going against their own, the high yellow, black, you know what I'm saying? There's a distinction in the hierarchy of ethnicity in the black community.
Well, that's a part of the whitewashing, though, right?
I know they're saying that. And
it was all a plan. It was all.
It's all a plan.
Yeah, they want you to segregate yourself by color.
Yeah.
If you're high yellow, you got a lot of white in you. If you're black, you don't have much white. And so it's a phenomenon that the Spaniards called.
That's me.
They said that if you're more Castilian, you're white, then you're related to people of power. And they said that it was a phenomenon. If there were some kids that were born white, they had their life taken care of because everybody catered to them because they were the Anglo type cousins that had the blessings, right? There's a phenomenon that the more white you are, the more grace and privilege you have. My dad
used to say, put it simple, you're better.
My dad used to say, Junior, if you're good looking and white in the Philippines, your life is easy. You don't have to compete so much. They just look at you and like you. But if you're ugly and you're dark, you have to work very hard to have people like you.
That's a fact. We say stuff similar over here too. Everything is all white. You know what I mean?
Look at Beyonce.
Everything is all white.
Don't worry about it. You're gonna be all white. You know what I'm talking about?
but that all goes with the history. Hence the terms. You got the term.
It's tragic.
You got the term white lie.
Some people are even painting themselves white.
White lies. And look at China. Look at China, though, for real. They spend $17 billion per year whitening their skin.
They're yellow, but they want to be white.
They want to be white.
It's not just China. It's also Japan and even
Japan. Korea as well.
Yeah.
But here's the kicker. I don't know about you guys. I did anatomy and physiology, okay, in college.
Yeah.
Okay? And the part when it gets to DNA and all that stuff, the professor, who was a white female doctor, she made it clear, okay, specifically clear, basically, that the blonde hair and blue eyes are the most recessive you can get as far as human genes go. Mm-hmm. So that's like the lowest. So they make the lowest and put it up high above everything else.
Yeah,
you know, so,
smoke and mirrors. And what's crazy about it is that we all have sipped the Kool-Aid.
Yeah, we all sipped the Kool-Aid.
We all have. You know
we
what
all
I mean?
sipped the Kool-Aid.
You have to come to a point where
we
you
all
can address
the
culture and understand who you are and where you come from. That's why shows like this and gentlemen like yourself is powerful.
It's needed.
Because there's a lot of people out here that believe the narrative. You know what I mean? They really truly do. You will be surprised. So again, we thank you guys for coming through, telling us your stories.
Bringing your history.
Know how to spin the block, man. Yeah, bringing your history and have you guys back to dig a little bit deeper, because like we always say, this is an ongoing conversation, right?
Yeah, this conversation don't end.
Come on, it never gets old. You know what I mean?
Guys, I might be losing my signal here.
Okay,
I might be losing my signal.
Thanks for coming in, Ray.
Well, I do want to say that this is commendable what you guys are doing, but we need to do more in terms of keeping this up, so that way, as Rod had brought it up, you guys all know, Patrick as well.
We have.
Hey, Darren, it's all re-education of the masses. We need to get it in the books. We need to tell all the people that, hey, indigenous natives are always going to be here. I don't care if they're from Hawaii or from Panama or if the Indians in North America or South America. Listen, those are indigenous natives, okay? They belong there. They can't just kick them out just because they don't have the genes of the white people. Okay, so we need to re-educate the masses, and that takes a whole lot of political pull.
They spend trillions of dollars.
Talking to the right people. Yes.
Trillions of dollars.
Yeah.
Money.
Hey, Darren, you might have to get your Navy to actually back us up on this. Okay.
but hey, definitely right. I like to get Ray and Rod. We have iFreedomTV USA that's built the platform we're building just for these type of things as well.
I watched your podcast. You had that lady on there.
Yeah,
you're right. It's real sad when you think about the history of Hawaii. I've been there a couple of times. As a retiree going there, and you have these. It's just like in the Philippines. You have the barrios. You can say these. The indigenous there, and then of course the true Hawaiians have their own island, right? A specific island just for them.
Yeah.
But when you think about Hawaii, Hawaii's like America. It's an amalgam of what. True blue-blooded Hawaiians, Japanese, Filipinos, Portuguese, a little bit American. So when you see a Hawaiian, you see somebody that has all the colors of the rainbow in them.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, like we've all said, your skin color. Hate to say this, but the more white you are, that you got some of the Dole family in you, because they're the ones that have the power. And just like when I was doing my research in Command General Staff, one guy, and you all know him, Cheney, is the richest politician in America. Why?
Yeah.
He started in Vietnam. Green, you know that. You were there. He was there. He was an assistant defense secretary.
Yeah.
He took Halliburton.
Yeah.
Why in the hell, like Trump says, why in the hell does the richest politician in America, nobody checks him? You make him retire or give up his ownership in Halliburton, and what hell? You kept him paying billions of dollars each year to Halliburton, former guys like Green, who were, E6s and E7s, and they got out of the system and became contractors and Blackwater.
Yeah.
And 20 years, he said, that's bad business practice. You're allowing this guy to get off for 8 years, retire his ownership to Halliburton. But what happens? You never audit any of the Halliburton's contracts. What the hell is that?
Nope.
No.
And they're making millions, and nobody says anything. And you're right. It's the corruption of the society that allows the people in power. Look at Biden. His son is involved in the
Ukraine.
And Ukraine. They paid him $50,000 a month to do what? Be on the board of that Burisma. And what's Burisma? Burisma's part of the guy that the president of Ukraine is involved in. So when you think about that, you're right. This
money.
Yeah, they're not
It's all
going to listen.
money.
They're not going to listen to us.
No.
No, they're going to have NBC and all those guys that are fake media said, "Hey, you don't count. You're just a Filipino that's lucky to retire and marry a white woman. You don't count. The guy that counts is Cheney. He's got billions of dollars. You're nothing, And that's what we got to fight. We got to fight. The establishment says, "Hey, listen, if you don't say anything, nothing's going to happen." Remember they said the worst thing that can happen in society is when good men don't say anything when bad things happen.
Yeah.
And that's right. And we as veterans, we as people of color that want to impact on our society have to start thinking and acting and saying, just remember the Vietnam War? Why did the Vietnam War end when it did, when we were winning? Green, you know that we were winning. Vietnamese say, why did you quit? You were winning. Because the government in March of '74 said, we are not funding you anything. So what happened? All the stockpile of ammunition dried up. So when the Viet Cong started coming down the Ho Chi Minh Trail in March of '74, right, Green? the Viet Cong had nobody to stop them. And the crazy South Vietnamese, the only people that were fighting were the Tiger battalions of the Vietnamese, just like Green's special forces. They and the Americans, they were holding the line. The South Vietnamese, they ran. And they didn't even put any thermite grenades in the artillery pieces. So when we ran, the Viet Cong took the artillery pieces and fired it on our own people. That's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, when you think about the history of all the wars, all the way back, the people that are making money are the people that are funding the war. The people like Cheney, the people that did everybody know? I don't think people know that the Prescott Bush. Does anybody know what Prescott Bush? Who is?
Yeah, that's the dad. That's the
guess
grandfather.
What? Yeah. Guess what? The Marshall Plan. Remember, General Marshall had the Marshall Plan in Europe to, help rebuild Europe. Guess who was one of the people that had contractors for the rebuilding? Prescott Bush.
Yeah.
Think about that. Does anybody know that Prescott Bush made millions of dollars in the reconstruction of Europe? No. Nobody knows that.
Because they keep that squash.
Yeah, because you have to be somebody like me or somebody that digs and says, who are the people that made money in those wars?
That whole war, the whole war, and I would be honest with you, in all my research and looking at it, the Second World War was all about money.
You better believe it.
It's all about money.
Why didn't Roosevelt allow the Japanese emissary come to him on Friday afternoon at 1:00? Why didn't he allow him? The Japanese wanted to do an honorable thing, declare war on America before. And what did he do?
He made him wait.
He didn't. And then on Monday morning, did he allow? They were looking at the time. I don't know if you guys saw Tara.
Yeah. He refused.
There was a scene there that these guys are frantically trying to type in a message to the president, trying to tell me, America, we want to have a audience with the president of the United States before
the attack.
Something happens. And they knew the war was happening. And what happened? The president allowed Pearl Harbor to happen.
Yeah.
Because he knew that if he wanted to get a war going, America was a very they were against the war.
Yeah, we were staying out of it.
Isolationist.
Yeah.
In 1938, America was isolationist against World War II. It was already happening in Europe, right?
Yeah.
1938, they were always doing their blitzkrieg in Poland and stuff.
Yeah.
And so America knew that President Roosevelt knew that he could not allow a war to start unless he had the blessings of, because at that time, remember, they didn't have the War Powers Act. They just had the Congress is the one that decides, declares war, not the president.
Yeah.
So what happened? The day of infamy is he allowed that thing to galvanize America's resolve to prosecute a war against Japan because they attacked.
They attacked.
A hideous surprise attack. The Japanese didn't want to do it there. They wanted to do it the right way. But the problem, if you look at the history of Japan and World War II, there were only a few warlords that were part of the old samurai tradition that wanted to do this thing because they thought if they could be like the Axis power could join, right? The Russians and Germans. Remember, Russia was part of the Axis power in 38.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And they left
until it got attacked by Germany. That it changed. Anyway, when that war began, the United States was already up in arms, but they were attacked, and that's what he used. He allowed that. When you think about the people in power, they allow things to happen for a reason.
For reasons.
Just like why
9/11.
Why would Putin not attack when Trump was in power? Because Trump would do something. But when he has somebody that has a history like Biden, like Obama, what happened in Crimea when Putin went across the line in Crimea? Obama didn't do nothing. He blinked.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So when you think about history,
I don't think Trump would have done anything either.
No, he would have done something. The only Trump, when you think of Trump, a businessman, he thinks of. I don't know if you guys ever watched him when he talked to the when he first went to Europe to talk to them. He said NATO is an entity that happened because America won World War II in Europe. That's what happened.
I think Trump got his hands in such a situation. So I don't think he would have did nothing either. When it comes to Putin.
I don't think he would have. Yeah, when it came to Putin, I don't think he was Putin's asset. Everything that I seen, he showed me he was his asset. Putin had something on him.
No, here's what you got to understand. Putin, if you ask Putin why didn't he do anything when Trump was in power? Remember, Trump told the rocket boy, you fire any more missiles into our direction, any more intercontinental missiles, I will make sure you regret it. Remember, he's the only president that was invited to go to Panmunjom and step on the land of North Korea. Every other president, we're looking at Panmunjom from the glasses. Mm-hmm. Trump is a smart man. If people don't remember, Trump can't be bought because he is not part of the Washington D.C. establishment, the deep state. We can go into a thing about that, but for the purpose of this podcast, you have to understand, like all of us know that money talks.
Yeah.
I did a research on the Bolshevik, the war in Russia. The Tsar. Remember the Tsar? Russia.
Tsars, yeah.
The yellow and the white.
Yeah.
You know who was funding the Tsar and who was funding the Bolsheviks? American gun owners.
Guns, yeah.
Remington was siding with one faction, and Colt was siding with. If you look at your Mosin Nagants, they're made by Remington.
Yeah.
There was a contract by the Tsar to have Remington make
the guns.
1890. Mosin Nagants, those weapons that are real, bolt action.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Bolsheviks and the Tsar had contracts. One had one with Colt, and the other one had with Remington. All you got to do is check it out. If you see a Remington, a trademark on one of the, those weapons, you wonder why in the hell did that happen? Because of money, because of Dick Cheney, because of the Bushes.
The Bushes were also, for the Second World War, the Vatican funded Hitler.
Yeah.
And Prescott Bush.
You're right. Think about it. Why didn't the Vatican go against the atrocities of the Jews, the genocide?
Because the Jews were there. That was their rival.
The Jews were their excuse to do the genocide. They said those guys are making all this money. They're charging you all this stuff, and so he had to get rid of them. And then think about this. Remember during the Byzantine and the Persian War.
Yeah.
Think about the Ottoman Turks. What did they do? They did 3 genocides against what people that we see in the Central Valley. Armenians.
The exact same thing.
Armenians. Yeah.
Armenians had 3 genocides worse than the one in the concentration camps in Germany.
Yeah.
Why? Because nobody wants to. I think they had one British journalist says, "Hey, all the stuff you're hearing about the genocide of Armenia is true." Yeah. The Turkish government, the Ottoman Empire, does not want you to see these things, but they have They marched all these Armenians into the sea, and they hacked them with their swords to kill them. I mean, they have a thing. But do you think that the Turkish government even now honors that? No, they don't want to say that they were barbarians like Germany. No, because guess what? There is a strategic NATO strategic post in Turkey. So the government doesn't want to offend the sensibilities of Turkey.
We need Incirlik. We still need Incirlik.
When you think about money, it's terrible. Just like when you think about the Civil War, who was making the money? The northern business industrials who had shoddy weapon systems, right? They didn't care. They were making money. Did you think the South had an industrial complex to make the weaponry that prosecute the war? No, they had slavery in the agricultural business. That's why America, when you think about who controls the war, it's the industrialists, the people who fund the war. Just like in the gold rush, who made the money? The people that were the millions of gold miners didn't make the money. It was a guy that was Levi who was selling pants and gold pans and all the logistical stuff to help the miners. Those guys were making millions, not the miners.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, that's too much. I'll give you too many history stories.
True.
That's the way it is.
That's what we here to do. We out here to address the culture and tap in. We definitely gonna have you guys back.
You know the problem with America? The problem with America and anybody else, they do not read history. They do not dig. You don't have to have a master's degree or PhD to say all you got is open books and read.
Yeah.
And there's one woman that has done that. Her name is Cecilia Gerling. She's responsible for the Baton Legacy Historical Society.
Okay.
And they invited this woman to do some speeches, and she confounded and astonished these people because she says, I don't have a degree in anything. I'm just a poor old lady that wanted to be to do some drama director. But I did my history about my father. And all of you guys, your fathers, everybody here has had somebody in World War II. Everybody. Whether they worked in the steel mills, whether they were Rosie DeLiver's mother, whether they were old age and they couldn't do it, but say they worked in the industry. Somebody contributed in America to the industrial complex of World War II.
Yes.
And when you think about the industrial complex, President Eisenhower said that, because remember, he was the supreme Allied commander for D-Day, right?
Yeah.
And he became the president, right?
Yeah.
He said, if you look at his history, when he did when he left in his inaugural thing, when Kennedy took over, he said, beware of the military industrial complex. Green, you know this. You lived in Vietnam. You saw the bombings. You saw the Agent Orange. You saw the hell of Vietnam, and you were there, Pat. You were there at the Desert Storm when you got your sand on your boots, right? Mm-hmm. The people who control the logistics of war. When I was going command general stuff, they said there's an acronym. You know that, Green. 35 Mike. Class 3-5 maintenance and material, right? You know that. If you have the bombs, the ammunition, the food stocks, the railroad lines that help supply the teeth of war, right? The teeth of war is your fighting combat special ops units. You have a 1-to-7 ratio. It takes 7 guys, Rimfers, the guy that pushes the one guy that goes out on patrol. It takes 7 soldiers to make 1 infantryman fight. So if you're looking at right now in Ukraine, 40 miles of what? Logistical hardware is on the ground stalled because the teeth were killed by what? They were killed by rockets and tows and anti-aircraft, anti-tank weapons that infantrymen were using.
Mm-hmm.
So we as a society have to understand that the people, we can think and hard and we can have these podcasts, but unless we realize that we are being manipulated by people of industry, the people that says, oh, we don't care about you, Rod or Harry. You guys can talk all you want, but guess what? We have the money, we have the connection. Why would Biden and his son get away with all this foolishness? If one of us did that, we'd be, oh my God, you're corrupt. But for him, he'll sell painting he doesn't know how to pay for $500,000 because it's connection money to his father.
To his father, yeah.
But when you think about it, just like in Hawaii, why wouldn't the industrialists allow the Hawaiians to have their independence? No, they want control of the assets.
They want to
that the
control.
poor little brown brothers cannot control because they don't have the wherewithal. I talked to some Hawaiians, say, you know, it's really sad. Every time a Hawaiian has a good idea, they can't put it together. But guess what? If they hook up with a white guy, with a haole, that haole will make more money than the poor Hawaiian who invented
who made the invention.
Well, you know, that's a story. That's a story that's not been told, and that has been told so much at the same time. We don't hear it, but we all have it. You know what I mean? And we know what they're trying to do, and that's why you guys coming on the platform and us having these conversations. Like you say, they got the money, but we got the people. And we talk, we have these conversations, and it's going to evoke change. You know what I mean? So,
think about Washington Carver, inventor. Think about the hundreds of patents he made. Do people celebrate the stuff that he made, peanut butter and all this kind of stuff? No. You think about the women that finally got their dues, the mathematicians that helped, you know,
put them on the moon.
The space, the space shuttle. They had those women. Do you think anybody thought about those women that were so smart? They
don't care.
Calculate the calculators, and they're black women.
Care. No,
and it wasn't until somebody said, "Hey, we can make a story out of this."
You
know?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
and their story has never been told until that moment. You know what I mean?
And we think of it about the immigrations of Indio. You started first. It started, you know, like you said, indigenous people, whether they're Iroquois or Mohegans or whatever. They were part of that. Then you had the blacks that came in there that intermarried with the Indians. When you think about the you know, American War, and then you think about the War of 1812.
Mm-hmm.
Addressing the culture, I'm addressing the culture, huh? Addressing the culture, I'm addressing the culture, huh? Addressing the culture, I'm addressing the culture, huh? Addressing the culture, I'm addressing the culture. We gon' talk about it. Come address the culture, we gon'